Hey everyone, welcome to our August session for Jira Advanced Roadmaps, aka plans, aka jars. My name's Alex, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into, let's see if I can get my slides to cooperate with me. We're going to be taking a deep dive into plan summary and metrics. The plan summary is going to be built into the jar, into the plans, and we're going to take a look at that. And then we're going to go look at some metrics, some dashboards, and see what is possible for you there, what you can create, what you should kind of take some inspiration from. I personally use both of these to drive multi-million-dollar projects, and so I'm just going to be sharing a lot of that knowledge, a lot of that information with you. Chad, thank you first of all for being a member of the channel. Folks, if you look at Chad, he's got a green icon, or his name is green. That's because Chad has been so generous enough to really support the channel here and become a member. We'll get into that in a second. But second, thank you so much for the audio check. That always, you do so many of these for a month and you still can't help but be paranoid and afraid that that you're missing something. So thank you so much, Chad, for the audio check. And again, thank you so much for being a member of this channel. We got Ghost of Rizgriz. It's been a while, Ghost. It's been a while. Top of the morning, fellas and Fellini's. I did not know that Fellini's was, I like that. We got a Bite with Lena. We got Debbie, Sarah, Debbie again, and Lori. So thank you all for being here. Let's jump into it and get started with these plan summary and metrics. A couple friendly reminders. We're in August, so we've been doing these for 9 months. 8 months? 8 months. Yes, 8 months. And so sessions are being recorded. They'll be available on YouTube after. You know the drill, folks. If you aren't subscribed by now, make sure you hit that subscribe button because everything's on this channel. So you want to make sure out of all the Atlassian channels out there, this is probably the one you want to make sure you hit the subscribe to, and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell notification because we drop a ton of videos. We are on the last week, the final stretch of the Atlassian Summer of Atlassian. Geez, there's so many things going on in my life. I'm mixing them all up. But we are on the last stretch of the Summer of Atlassian. So make sure you are subscribed here. Make sure you're taking advantage and watching all these videos. We dropped 100 videos in 100 days. And I think, I didn't do the tally, but it's probably going to be closer to 110, maybe 115 videos in 100 days, especially when you include shorts and stuff. So definitely pumping out a lot of content. Now, rest assured, if you're annoyed with all the content, we're pumping the brakes on the content as we enter the fall and in winter of this year. And we're going to be drastically slowing down quite a bit, but hopefully you've been enjoying the 100 plus videos for the Summer of Atlassian. Say hello in the chat. We got a couple people already saying hello. We got Lori and Debbie and Sarah and Chad, Ghost. We got Rohit. So if you're in the chat here, make sure you say hello. Let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, how many years of Jira administration you have, how many years of being a Jira user. Just let me know your years of experience here. Always great to know, kind of a good gauge for where you're all at. Also, we have a leaderboard. So YouTube's doing this cool new thing where the more you comment, the more higher your probability of getting into the top 3 on the chat here. So make sure you blow up the chat and just say hello, and obviously don't spam, but say hello, interact. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions with the experts. So take advantage of that and definitely ask your questions. If you have any questions, take advantage of that. We got Martha, we got Julie. Sarah's got about 4 years of Jira and Confluence experience. Awesome, Sarah. And then Julie is from Brazil. The cool way of spelling Brazil, though. I like this one better. We got Evolution, Grand Rising, Novice, but learning quickly. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for being here. And we got Ezra from South Africa. So, wow, we got quite a global reach today. And yeah, so last thing on this slide is become a member. As you've seen, Chad here is a member of our channel, which puts him in the special green text. At least I see it as green text. I don't know if you all see him as green text, but Chad, again, has been gracious enough and generous enough to bless us with his monies. And he's a member of the channel. He gets early access to videos. He gets live streams. I've been doing daily walks almost when appropriate, but I'm doing like at least a weekly walk where I'm just sharing my thoughts. I have member-only videos. We're going to have a member-only community, so lots of cool stuff. So, Chad, hopefully you're checking out those live streams. They're a little bit deeper, but a little behind the scenes to some of the many things that I'm doing in the world here of Atlassian. We got Chad. Sarah says, Chad, we became champions around the same time. Okay, cool. That's awesome. And yeah, so Alistair's got 4 years off and on. So awesome. We got Noreen here from the Philippines. And so awesome. Yeah, we just have so much good representation. Corey tuning in, Daria, a great friend of mine who I'm going to get to meet in like 2 months. Looking forward to meeting you, Daria. So good morning to everybody. All right. On a similar topic, we are hosting a pretty big event. I don't know if you've heard. Hopefully, you've heard, if, unless you've been living under a rock on LinkedIn. But I'm hosting a 3-day event. Daria is going to be here, and hopefully a few more others are going to be there. But we're going to have 26 expert-led sessions to actually show you how to use the tools. This is not a sales pitch. This is not going to be one of these like kumbaya, we're just going to get together and hear a bunch of information. No, you're going to come in, you're going to learn valuable things. I got 26 experts in their fields that are going to be showing you how they use the tools. And so these are going to be real people, real champions, real people that care about the Atlassian ecosystem. They're going to be in there doing and driving these sessions. And so make sure you attend this completely free event because we only have like 30 spots left. And so if you're thinking about this, if you're on the fence, we got 30 spots left, folks. And so once these spots fill up, we're gonna start start taking some drastic actions here. So if you want to become a if you want to attend this event completely free, happening in Long Beach 22nd to the 24th, you got to take advantage of this. Now, breaking news. Christy Lawson, I wanted to say thank you so much for becoming a member. Appreciate you being a member. And you get free access to early video access. You get member-only videos, and you get member-only live streams. So thank you so much for being a supporter of the channel here. Is online access or in person? So Corey, this is going to be an online only. This is going to be an in-person only event, but everybody that physically attends will be getting a free copy of the Big Book of Atlassian, which is going to be a physical copy. So make sure you attend the event, right? You gotta move mountains. You gotta start moving them now. We're still 8 weeks, a little under 8 weeks out from the event. And so start talking to your managers, bosses, figuring out where those travel budgets are going to come from. All right. So thank you again for everybody who's becoming members. Welcome to the club, Christy. And thank you to everybody. Yeah, sorry, I know. We'll figure something out in the future, Julie. But that's we committed $110,000, so we got to make this event happen, and we gotta get people to show up. So if you want to come help out, maybe help me get some sleep at night, sign up, get some hotels, and we'll get this event rocking and started. Okay, enough of the sales pitches. Just real quick, I'm Alex. I have ACP 520, 620, 120, and I'm working on the 420. I have a couple of engineering degrees. I do a lot of YouTube, and I'll drop my link for everything else here so that you can check it out. So if you need any help with Jira, I help people with their Jira problems. I have free stuff. I have paid stuff. I have merch. I have all kinds of stuff. So I just dropped the link. All right. So with that said, we spent enough times here, just having fun. So let's get into the material because I don't like to be a sales pitchy person. So we're going to be learning two main things. Plan summary overview. So we're going to go over that. We're going to spend 10, 15 minutes on the overview. And then we're going to go and spend 10, 15 minutes on building a dashboard, but not just any dashboard. We're going to be using the coveted, the very special, very important issues in portfolio child's issue of. And I'm going to show you how to use this to build better dashboards given the way that the plan presents our data. So with that said, we're going to leave the slides. We'll come back a little bit later, and we're going to jump into our plans. We're going to come back to here. Everybody close your eyes. Here we go. We're in a plan, and it doesn't matter which plan right now, right? So at this point, we're, again, 8 months into this. So at this point, if you're following along, you should have a plan. You should have data in your plan. Holy moly, we got some more breaking news. We got Sarah here, just became another YouTube member. So thank you, Sarah, so much for the support here. Again, you get free access to I wouldn't say free access, but you get early access to the videos days before they drop. You get access to member-only videos and member-only live streams. And I got a lot planned because once I'm done with the Summer of Atlassian and I don't have to publish a daily video, I'm going to be nurturing this community quite a bit. So Sarah, Chad, Christy, who just joined as well, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we're definitely getting the membership train going on today. So thank you so much. Yeah, I just have a couple of engineers. Sorry, Corey. Yeah, I have a couple. It's no big deal, right? Okay. So we have our plan. And again, we have data. At this point, you got to go watching some of the other recordings to get this far if you're new, but just know that you need to have a plan with Jira data in it, and hopefully you're active, okay? But what we're going to be focusing on today is a summary tab up here. So let me zoom in a little bit to make this a little bit easier for y'all to see. But we have a summary tab that is built in natively into the plans. And I'm going to walk you through what it is you're seeing here, because some of this information is actually quite valuable and very, very helpful. And I typically use it to help drive these multi-million-dollar decisions. So we're going to be focusing on the summary and giving you an in-depth view there. Sarah says, my paid ones are you and Robert, so figured I can swing it. Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. I know Robert, he's starting out. I got a couple years on him, but I know he's got the membership as well. So thank you. You folks have no idea what this means to us as creators, as folks, because Atlassian doesn't pay us or reimburse us or do anything monetary with this. It's just Rob and I are on here just for the love of the game, and so we appreciate you supporting us with your finances. So hopefully we'll do you good and keep providing you an infinite amount of value here. All right. I just left Rob's course on. Yeah. So Rob and I, we kind of keep the whole morning going, right? It's like Tech Tuesday or something, like the whole morning you're learning content. So um I'm glad you all come over here after Rob's. Go says raw passion like 70s dance floors. Yes. Although I wasn't born in the 70s, so I can't say that I've ever been on a 70s dance floor, but I get the gesture. Okay. So what do we see in this summary view? Well, first, the biggest thing that you got to know is that the majority of the information on here, if not all of it, is dictated by Atlassian. It's going to show your data. It's going to show your information relative to like your plan, but the actual boxes themselves, those are governed by Atlassian. So what do we see? Well, I'm going to come back to this date one, right? But essentially, you get to pick your date, and so you are going to be able to, this is like the only dynamic part. Well, there's like 2 or 3 dynamic parts that you can do, but one of the big dynamic parts that you get a little bit of control over is the date. So you get to pick your range. So if you want to look at the last quarter, you can do fixed dates here, or you can do relative if you just want it to show you the last 2 weeks and the next 4 weeks. So it's up to you on how you want to show this, whether it's relative, so it's always changing day by day, or if you want to very specifically look at a quarter, 90-day period of performance or something like that, you can set your dates. So when you set those dates, the data down below gets updated to reflect those dates. So if I'm using the plan, I'm looking at least a quarter at a time. So I would probably use fixed, and I would go back to, what is it, June 1st? No, that doesn't make sense. July 1st is the start of first quarter, right? So let's just start with July 1st as the start of a new quarter. And so I would be looking at July 1st through today, because I mean, that's all we can do now. But this would be the most recent quarter. And then of course we can go even further back into the March, April, or April, May, June quarter. And so, yeah, so you can change this around and it'll show you that data based on, again, this selection. Now, once you pick your dates, we have unassigned work. So again, this is not anything that you get to pick, right? You can't, I wish that you can change what these boxes represented, but Atlassian has dictated this for us. And this first box here is going to show us anything within this period that's within scope of the plan that is unassigned. And so these are going to be great heavy hitter, like let's get started in the day. What should we start tackling? Well, let's go look at unassigned work, because when you click on this button, you're going to be able to see any item that it doesn't have any assignees to it. So as you can see here, these 4 epics are unassigned. And folks, what happens when we have unassigned work? Well, nobody takes accountability or nobody gets credit for when the work gets completed, and nobody takes accountability to get the work completed. So you always want to put as best as possible, especially at the epic level and up. I'm a huge proponent of making sure that everything epic and up is assigned, because once you assign it to somebody, it makes it real. It makes it very, very real for that person that is on the receiving end of the assignment, right? And whoever becomes the assignee. And now they're responsible. Now they have to have accountability. Now they have to have responsibility to go and make sure that that work gets done. But if nobody's assigned to that work, then the probability that it gets completed goes down quite a bit. And so make sure that you're taking advantage of this fact that Atlassian is automatically telling us what work is unassigned, so we can go and make sure that that work is assigned. Next up, we have critical priority work. Now, again, this is Atlassian's doing this for us. I don't think you get to manipulate this, but essentially what they do is they take the highest priority level in your plan, and then you get to see which items are the most critical. So again, these items here that you're looking at are super critical, right? So you want to use your priority accurately. You don't want to just randomly make everything critical. You don't want to randomly leave everything as medium as a default, right? You want to judge, and you want to have good definitions. What is critical? What is highest? What is high? What is medium? I'll tell you a great story. I used to work in the defense world, in the aerospace world, and we use priorities quite a bit. The priority field was very, very important, because we had somebody's gonna die priority, right? So if we had a bug, I worked in aircraft, right? And if aircrafts fall out of the sky, people tend to get hurt quite a bit, right? And so we reserved a priority level at the highest if we felt that lives were at danger. I know it's very, very extreme, but you kind of need that, right? But the takeaway here is you should have very good definitions of what what each priority level means, because when I put something critical, right, plane go up, plane no go down, right? We don't want planes to come down, at least not accidentally. Right? We want to make sure people stay alive and that no lives are ever in danger. So if you work in automotive in the automotive industry, you might have critical items if the occupants in the vehicle are at in danger at any point because of some story that you have in Jira. You want to make sure those get addressed. If you're working at Netflix, maybe your criticality is a little bit differently, right? But I would assume that if Netflix goes down, every minute you can't stream Netflix, it's probably every minute that you can't make revenue. And so you want to make sure that you're using these priority levels appropriately so that you can communicate with your team accurately what the expectations are. Sarah says, I found out when I worked in Las Vegas, don't assign that priority unless it literally stops our operations. Yeah. So you want to have one of those. You want to leave that Chicken Little, the sky is falling, like something has hit the fan, as they say on the internets, right? Because you need that super high level priority, because the plan is going to take that item and it's going to put it right in front of our faces. So that we as a project managers, we can go and address the resources to fix that problem, because any critical priority work is going to be a huge problem. And again, people can die, people can have just really, really bad things, right? Operations stop, you stop making money. If I was reading a book recently over the weekend where you have a business as long as you can make money. And if you can't make money, you don't have a business. And so if you have items that are critical priority that are stopping your business from making money, what's the domino effect? So these are the items that you want to look at there. Up next, we have overdue work items. So again, this is using the due date. Now, very, very carefully, one little pro tip for you all here is when you go to your plan settings here, you get to determine which field becomes your end date. And so make sure you use the appropriate due date, because these are going to be giving these two dates here control the bar. It controls the actual, well, let me show you, right? So when you set your start date and your due date fields here, it will control under your timeline view, it'll control an actual date, right? So if I were to put, let me see if I can scroll over nicely here. Apparently not, because I put my dates all the way over here. So let me see if I can move this date over. So let me make some movie magic here. Everybody give me a second here to change my due date. I need to make it a date that's a little closer to within my range. So if I make my due date to be last Friday, right? And then I go back into my plan. Let me see if I can get back to my plan. Folks, who's liking the new UI? Who got used to it? I'm still struggling with it. Okay, so here we have an item that has a due date of August 22nd, which was last Friday. And so now when I go to my summary view, we have an overdue work item. However, because of the way plan settings work, you can technically change this to be event date, right? And if I go back to my plan, you'll notice that if I do a quick refresh, my due date is, my due date has changed, right? And the reason that is because I'm governing it based on that field. And so this is good. This is exactly what I was expecting, but you can see that my fields are all off now because I'm using a completely different date field. So don't be confused. Don't be thinking that the due date is the due date. It's going to be whatever's governed here. So you want to make sure that you put the correct value here, or you're using the correct field here. Otherwise, don't expect this stuff to work correctly. So this is very, very much influenced by that due date field, and you want to make sure you pick the right due date field, especially if you have like a request to completion date or something else in your plan. This data is going to look a little bit different for you. And then we have our blocked items. Now, these are going to be blocked as in you have to link stories together. And so if I open this particular item, it should have maybe not this one, but maybe a child within it. Let me see if I can go back in time here. There should be somewhere in here some items that are blocked somehow. So I'm not sure where. Here we go. You see this red line. This is a clear indicator that an item is blocked, and only when we link items together with this relationship are we going to get the block. So if you have a status of blocked, that's not going to cut it. If you have a status or a priority of blocked, or you're flagging issues or work items in your plans, that's not going to do it. You have to have a blocked relationship between two dates, which means you need to do the dates and you need to do the relationship, the linking between work items to effectively get your blocked items, which is not always ideal. Not every team follows this. Alistair asks, will it stop people working on them early? If you set the start date and the due date, could a dev pick them up early if they're working ahead of the plan? Yeah. So at the end of the day, your plan, you're right, your timeline view here you use it as a reference point. Ultimately, the work gets planned into your sprint. So you have a bigger problem. You gotta have to talk with either your scrum master, or if you're also the scrum master, then your developer should only be working on items that make it to the sprint. For these items in our plan, like epics, initiatives, themes, whatever I have going on in here. Let me see. I have epics here. I have features and initiatives. For these items that are above at the epic level and up, because those items normally don't go into your sprint, they're governed a little bit differently, and so you can start them. You can do whatever you want with them. Jira's not going to complain if I have an item that I'm going to work in 2026 and I move it to in progress today. That's it. Jira doesn't care. And so it's going to let you do that just fine. Where you're going to get into some trouble is if you start working on stories or bugs or tasks before they plan to the sprint. That's where you could be disrupting your sprint plan, and you want to check with your scrum master to make sure that your team is working on the right work at the right time. What I find to be very helpful, though very beneficial, is that I can use this plan here and the dates that I've governed for the epic, for the initiative, for the feature, right? I can use those dates that I have governed to help influence when the story should be planned into a sprint. So if you go back, you might want to go back to last month's session where we talked about this program plan. Here you can take your tasks and you can preemptively put them into various sprints. And so you can kind of pre-plan your sprint out. Not always, this is not like my biggest recommendation. Like I don't always do this because I'm usually more on the agile level. But if if you're doing scaled agile, then you're gonna love this, right? And so I would say that's my answer for you. Rodney says, new stream, who's this? Well, you know who it is. It's Rodney. Alistair says, agreed, but occasionally if we build a conservative sprint, they finish their task early and then, yeah. I will tell you that this is an exception, not the rule. I have, in all the years that I've been doing this stuff, Alistair, it's rare when somebody finishes the work and the commitments early. But yeah, if your team can swing it and you somehow have like a superstar team, then absolutely this is something I would highly recommend that you all take advantage of and pull in, right? You can always pull in to your sprint, but just make sure that your team's being accountable and responsible and that they're finishing the other work that they should have been doing before they pulled in new work. All right. So that's that one there. Oops, went too far back. Let's go back in the summary. We're basically done with that top row. So that's how that top row works. And so now let's get into these bigger boxes. We have a couple of bigger boxes here that are going to be a little dynamic. I love this. And before we get too far, one thing that you should also know is that in Jira, if you go to a project, let me go to a Jira project. Again, I do not like this new UI, folks. I know that I sound like a broken record, but I really do not like this new UI. Okay, so inside of a Jira project, you'll see that we have a summary view as well. And we get very similar data. It's not the exact data, but we get very similar data. We get status overview, recent activity, priority breakdown, types of work, team workload, and epic progress. So that's free. Everybody gets this. The plan is only available to premium and enterprise customers of the Atlassian cloud. And so we're going to get something very similar. We're going to get status overview, work item progress, key dependencies, team progress, and team capacity. The only difference here, though, is that these are a little bit more dynamic. I can actually pick my status overview to see my stories, or for my epics, for my projects or features, or for my initiatives. And so this is like the one big difference that you don't get in this project one, because the project one is just for the items in that project. So the scope is narrow to just that project. And so whenever you want to combine two or more projects, you need to build a plan. And then here, this summary view is going to be an aggregate of the two or more projects, which I really, really like. And I think is a very useful feature and one that I highly encourage, right? If you have to track two different Jira project teams, right? If you have two different Jira projects, and they kind of work together, they're working on the same product, then instead of suffering with the out of the box Jira project, create a plan, pull both those projects in, and now your summary overview is going to give you this view. So that aside, this first one is just going to give you a status breakdown, right? So it's going to give you relative to the items in your project or your plan. You're going to see not the statuses themselves, though. These are going to be the status categories. So if I open up this to-do, we have some to-dos like, although maybe, just maybe, no, you know what? It says it to me right here. So this is going to show you the status category. So at the high level, it doesn't care if you have a code review, a peer review status, a testing status. It's just going to show it to you by color category. So it's not going to show you the explicit statuses, while over here in this view here, you do get a breakdown by each status. So this is the actual statuses in the project one. So if you have a project with a lot of statuses, let me see if I can get to one right here. If you have a bunch of statuses in a project, these are not mine. So these are not my projects. So I don't normally customize them all that much. But if you have a crazy workflow, it's going to show up here in a crazy way. And so let's see if any of these got updated. Nope. So, but unfortunately in the plan, you don't get the individual statuses, you get the status category. So keep that in mind. But you do get the added benefit that you can toggle between your stories to your epics and stuff like that. Now, one other thing for you to note here, that the story is not the story itself. It's going to be, if you come over to the gear and you go to your work items, you go to your word type hierarchy, it's saying story because this says story here. So if you don't want it to say story because maybe you're using bugs, maybe you're using subtasks, maybe you're using bugs, maybe you're using tasks, maybe you're using stories as well. It's whatever you call it here. So you may need to rename it. Out of the box, it is called a story. And that's why we see story right here. Okay, to the right side of that, we now see our work items in progress. And so this one is going to tell us, like, here's an epic. And based on the children of that epic, we're going to see the percent complete. So you can show all statuses. You can also show projects and features, and you can go up. Now, I don't have a whole lot here in this plan, but as you can see here, that relative to the children of this particular initiative, this initiative is 100% complete because the children are 100% in progress because the children are all in progress. And if I open up MP2, you're going to see that my child is in progress. If I were to move my child to backlog and I go back, then this one gets updated to now be in to do. So the more children I have, the more dynamic and granular this is going to look, and the better it's going to, the more accurate of a representation of percent complete this is going to be. Now, one little pro tip for all you watching at home. Let me first get some water. One little pro tip. Jira items tend to disappear from your plan. Okay, you want to be very careful here. Inside of your plan settings, and the new UI, I don't know why I don't have the new UI, but the new UI is not given to me, but there is a whole new UI for this. But there's an exclusion section. Okay, you want to go to your exclusion area of your plan, and by default, Jira is going to remove anything that was finished in the last 30 days. All right, and so now you got two date fields that are going to be playing against you here that might sway your data to give you fake data, when in reality, Jira is not lying. You just picked the wrong dates. And so you want to be very careful here, because when you move something to done, 30 days later, that item is taken out. So if we're looking at a quarterly view and we finished this 60 days ago, that item is not going to show up. And therefore, our summary view is going to be swayed because it's not going to show us those done items because they're not in the plan anymore. And so you want to be very careful that two things, your range up here is the full 90 days. And then I would go a step further and go to my plan settings and make sure that my exclusion rule is like 100 days, just to give me a little bit of buffer. Because once you give yourself 100 days, then you can reliably look at the last 100 days. And then all the data that I'm looking at is not going to be present, right? Because if you don't, if you take certain items out, then these numbers will be manipulated incorrectly because the plan is excluding them. And if they're excluded from the plan, well, then you're not going to get data from them. All right, let me know if you have any questions, but that's for that. Now, as we move down, we're going to have key dependencies. So this is going to be, again, those dependencies are going to be items that are those blockers, right? So at this particular point, we had these blocked items up there, but because they were so far back, We don't have any blocked items right now. But if you had those items that are blocked, you would see them here. We have a team progress. So as you set up your team, if you pull in your team, if you're doing your board, you're going to be able to see how your team is doing relative to the epic, to the project or feature, and any issue types, work types above your epic, at the epic level and up. So you get to control this, which again is not technically possible in the project view. And so I really like this one. And then finally, we have our team capacity. So this view is, we set it up last month when we were doing our program planning. So if you do set up your sprint capacity, you can see that as we're planning our sprint for this particular team, we're looking at this particular sprint, that we have 5%, 5 points allocated, 25% are available for a total of 30 points. So we are drastically under plan for this sprint. And we may want to pull some work into this team so that they can work on more things. So a lot of cool situational awareness that you get in here. And we're going to pause here for a second to see if there's any questions from anybody in the chat. So let me know if any of you have any questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat. And for everybody else that's watching, just a quick reminder that we are hosting our Atlassian Builder Summit, October 22nd through the 24th. And so if you want to sign up for that, I'll be dropping a link here. It's a free in-person event happening in Long Beach. So check that one out, and we'll transition over to JQL. So, but I will pause. Any questions, folks? I've been talking for 30 minutes. This would be your time to talk. So if you have any questions, any doubts about the summary view, let me know, because we're gonna roll up our hands here. And we're gonna go into JQL, and so we're gonna have a little bit of fun. Okay, no questions, folks. These live streams are live for a reason, so that you can interact. Otherwise, I would just record these. So you want to take advantage of the fact that you're here and that you can talk. Okay. So before we get into our next stuff, I want to show you something very important. We have this MP2, right? And when I click on MP2, I have a child called MP4. And when I go into my MP4, I have children, MP1 and MP3, okay? I'm going to show you how to build some dashboards that are relative to your initiatives. These are very, very important, specifically for like your executives. My executives that I show these things to, they typically eat this stuff up because it's super valuable, right? And so inside of our plan, it should be no surprise to you. I'm going to go back to my plans, which again, Atlassian, why do you, UI, horrible UI. Okay, when I go to my initiative, right? If I'm doing the full breadth of my hierarchy here, and I'm inside of here, and I don't know what happened to my MP. Where did I go? I have two filters. Oh, let me clear out my filters. Here we go. So I have my MP2, right? And then I have my features, and then I have my epics below. Now, inside of my field list, I'm going to switch over to fields. I have the ability to report on progress. And in fact, we have two types of progress. I'm going to bring the other one out. This is going to be my issue count. And so one of the biggest questions that I usually get, right, at least from executives, is like, well, I want to know where we are with respect to our initiative, right? Like, what's the percent complete of our initiatives? Who's got the ball? What's blocked for each initiative? And that information is really hard to answer from time to time, right? Because Jira doesn't do a really good job at helping us report on stuff. And so I'm going to show you kind of I don't want to say it's a silver bullet, but I'm going to show you what's possible so you at least are aware of what's possible. But I'm going to try to help answer the questions of like, okay, so for this initiative, where are we at? What's the percent complete? What's the progress look like and stuff like that, okay? Now, Christy says, I learned a lot. I need to go back and find all the prior videos on plans, but this is really helpful. Yeah, so I have, let me just quick little sidebar. If you go on the YouTube channel, right, if you go to APEC, I think it's, yeah, here we go. I'm just trying to get straight to my channel. So if you go here and you go to the live section, I've done it a little easy for you all, but if you look at the color coding, there's like yellowish, orangey color. These are going to be all the plans ones. So this one's plans, plans, plans. So don't ignore the purple, ignore the red ones. You want to look at these yellow, orangey ones. These are going to be all the ones on plans. And so make sure you take advantage and go look at those, as those are going to be the ones you're going to want to look at. And also, again, in case it wasn't clear, you're going to the live section. If you go look for the videos in the videos or in the shorts, you're not going to find them there. You need to go to live. Okay, back to what we're trying to get to. So what can we do? You're going to want to take note of the highest item. Okay, you want to take note of the highest item inside of your hierarchy, And we're going to go over to the search bar at the top. We're going to click on view all work items. And then you're going to delete all this, get rid of all this crap. And then you're going to type in issue in. And then there's a magical function called portfolio child issues of. In the chat, let me know with the little emoji, have you used this function? In the chat, let me know if you did not know that this function existed. So I'm curious, who has used it and who didn't know it existed? Let me know. I want to see a flood of comments here. We're going to pause until we get some comments. Let me know in the chat. Julie had no idea that it existed. Anybody else who knew that this issue, portfolio child issue, existed? Victoria didn't know. We have a mind blown from Christy. Trisha have not heard of this. Rodney, being the Jira guy, of course, knows about it. Chad uses it. Corey's on a thumbs down. Only recently, as in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So I learned about it about 2 or 3 years ago, and it blew my mind. My reaction to when I learned this was basically Christy's here, right? Like, it was like, holy moly, this is powerful. I'm going to show you. I haven't even shown it to you yet, and you guys are all excited, right? Christy's like, I was literally going to my company's office hours later today to ask for something like this. Yeah. So let me show you what this does. So issue in, portfolio child issues of, it takes a number in here, and you have to be very careful. You don't have to be very careful, but there's just one rule. It has to be all caps. It has to be the key exactly the way the key is written. And so I'm going to type in MP-42 because that's my key that we've been looking at. And when I click enter, apparently you need to know your key. What is my key? Chicken and egg situation, folks. You got to have a chicken and egg situation. MP2, not 42. See, you got to put the exact key. But when you put the exact key in here and you hit enter, what this does is it goes and finds every descendant relative to this particular work item. And it's descendant. So it won't include. It's not going to include. So that's like the only caveat. Although I've seen people do a workaround by doing like a or issue key like equals MP-2. I think this will work. Yeah. So this will bring me in MP2. So we can see that there's a total of 6 items relative to this hierarchy. But this is great, right? Because it'll show you every descendant from that initiative. And so you can now build filters around your initiatives. And people are like, oh, well, now you got to build a filter for each initiative. Like, yeah, but your company shouldn't have a whole lot of initiatives, right? You should have maybe a dozen or so, right? But if you have 50, 60, 100 initiatives, like you're kidding yourself here, right? Because your company's probably not going to be as productive as you think that they're going to be, right? Can you paste this query into the chat? Absolutely, Trisha. Let me grab this query here and paste it into the chat. Although, again, your results are going to vary because this is this is my work, right? You're not going to have MP2 unless you have a project called with the key MP, right? But this right here is a very valuable thing. So just replace the key in here. And the other pro tip that I'll give you is you want to go high. You want to go as high as possible because it'll give you more to work with. But you can put anything. You can put a story in here. You can put a subtask in here. You can put an epic in here. You can put any level. But obviously, the higher up you go, the more descendants you're going to get. Okay. And so again, I typically do this for each initiative because that's pretty high up there. And I'm only going to have maybe a half a dozen or a dozen initiatives, right? If you can't fit it in a box of Krispy Kreme, you have too many initiatives. That's the tagline and mantra for the day. If it doesn't fit, if the number of initiatives you have doesn't fit inside of a box of Krispy Kreme, you have too many initiatives. Okay. So, but what can you do with this, right? So we're gonna hit save, right? And this is gonna be our initiative. Now, what is this initiative called? Operationalize AI, right? So we're gonna call this the Operationalize AI initiative. And this, folks, is where you're gonna want to share this one, usually at the initiative level because they're so high up there. I usually open it up to my entire organization, but you can pick. I mean, this is just project or filters 101, right? You can share it with the project, you can share it with the group, the entire organization, a specific user, or you can leave the default, which is private to your eyes only. And then you can have, if maybe you go on vacation. I never go on vacation, so I don't ever have this problem. But if you went on vacation and you wanted to share this filter, like so that other people can edit, then you can change it here. Okay. Click on save, right? So we now have a filter that we can use, but this filter serves us one purpose. We can now share this filter with anybody. And if anybody's like, hey, what is the work underneath this initiative? Well, you simply give them this this key or this filter, and they're going to be able to find all the work. And yeah, now I did a horrible thing. Now I got Krispy Kreme in my head and I can't even focus anymore. This is not a good idea. But yeah, has anybody seen the new Krispy Kreme donuts that they have? Crispy, I can't spell crispy. Krispy Kreme Harry Potter. I think they're new for the fall here. But has anybody tried the new ones? Has anybody been aware? I'm making you all hungry, but these are limited time. If you're Harry Potter fans, highly would tell you to go check them out. But they're all limited time, and I don't know if they're having them in stock, but and yeah. So Sarah, yeah, I don't go on vacation, so I don't have this problem. So yeah, bad things happen when you go on vacation. So I never go on vacation. Chat says they have them at Walmart here too. Okay, so yeah, so maybe you don't have to go to Krispy Kreme. You can go to Wally World and see if you can check them out at Wally World. You can get a lot of Krispy Kreme box, a lot in the Krispy Kreme. Well, yeah, I guess it depends on the box, I suppose, but a dozen is a fair number, I think. I've been trying to find them. Kroger didn't have them. Yeah, I haven't tried. I live in Southern California, so whenever something gets released that is like, hyped up or special limited edition, I'm waiting for hours and hours and hours. So it's not worth my time and or energy or effort. We just have way too many millions of people in Southern California, and so I never compete with like the McDonald's Happy Meals and stuff. Like I don't even try because by the time I get there, it's all sold out or there's like a 2 hour line or a 3 hour line. So, anyways, interruption on our on our schedule here to talk about Krispy Kreme donuts. Kroger's equals Ralph's in SoCal. I did not know that. I know I stay away from Ralph's mainly because I can't afford Ralph's. But I did not know that Kroger was Ralph's in Southern California. And Alistair's going to check the UK Metro Center. Yeah, post some pictures. Tag me on LinkedIn. If you guys find pictures, tag me on LinkedIn and send a connection request. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, folks, I'm going to drop this here inside of our link tree. They have there's a LinkedIn there for you. So connect with me on LinkedIn if you're enjoying this content and you want to continue hearing from me in the future. Kroger's equals Smith in Las Vegas. All right, so we can do a whole episode on Kroger's. Who is Kroger? I've heard of Kroger. I just never seen him in Southern California, maybe because we don't have them directly. Okay, folks. So let's get into the fun because we only have like 10 minutes left. So now that you have your filter, right, now you can go to your dashboard. So we're going to close filters out and we're going to go to our dashboard. And I would recommend you create like, this is usually what I do. Like I do an executive dashboard. And I'm going to give it a name. Same thing that we did with our filters, right? You can either share with the entire organization. Pro tip, your directors, right? The people that care for this information, they're not always in the Jira project. So my pro tip is share with your organization because then you're going to increase your probability that your directors are in there. Another pro tip, if the data is in like all the work items, right? The rules and laws of Jira still apply to this stuff. So you can only see the work items that you have access to. So if you have a director, an executive, a VP, a CTO, CIO, right? People that you're building these reports to, because let's face it, when we're talking initiatives, when we're talking high level work, it's the CIOs, it's the CTOs, it's the VPs of engineering, right? It's your VPs of something, your directors of something, your senior directors of something. It's these high level people that don't spend a whole lot of time in Jira. Those are the ones that want to see this data, right? And so if they want to go look at it, make sure that they have access. So do yourself a favor and save some embarrassment when they click on links and they're like, oh, I can't access something. Like, do your homework, make sure they have access before you start broadcasting your dashboards and your filters, and make sure they have access to the right Jira projects that are driving those dashboards and filters. Because if you don't, then again, you're just going to get a nasty gram from somebody saying, I can't access. And it's just going to piss off because these directors have like 2 seconds out of the day to click on your links. And you just want to make sure they have a magical experience when they click on those links. Okay. So anyways, so we're back to this. So we're in a dashboard, and at this point, we've made sure that our directors, our executives, our VPs, whoever it is, we've made sure that they have access to the projects. We've made sure they have access to the filters, and we made sure they have access to the dashboard. And so now we built the dashboard. Okay. And so the one I usually use, Jira sucks when it comes to dashboards and metrics. Like it's true. It's a catastrophe. I've been hearing rumors for like the last year that Jira is supposed to get better, or the last one's supposed to introduce something, but I just see or I hear about EAPs, but I never actually see anything. So until this changes, this is probably the worst feature of Jira. So the only metric that I care for, there's only like two that are out of the box that I find useful. And that's going to be this issue statistics one here. So when I click on this one, I'm going to be able to bring in that filter that we just created, right? So no, I forgot the name of the I forgot the name of my initiative. Operations, here we go. And so now you're going to be able to see the breakdown by, let's just go with assignee, right? And so you can do assignee here. We can then duplicate it, and I'm going to move it over here to the right-hand side, and we're going to configure it. And now instead of assignee, maybe I'm going to do status. And again, this out of the box stuff is very limited, so you can't like use all your custom fields. So if you had a special custom field, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You're always taking a chance with the wonderful world of Jira, especially with respect to their out of the box metrics. But I would recommend you set up some of these for like priority, right? Some of the big the big heavy hitters, so that you know relative to that initiative, right? This is, and I would rename these like this is initiative. I get rid of this stuff here at the beginning, right? This is the initiative, priority, initiative, status, initiative. Like these get a little bit better when you open them up, right? But you can see relative to that initiative, and maybe you make an executive dashboard for just the initiative, or maybe you have 2 or 3 initiatives in here. Just make sure you label things correctly. But as you can see, just for those items, just for the 6 items that are relative to this initiative, I can see the priority, the status breakdown, and the assignee breakdown. Now, what's cool about this is that if I go back into my plan here, and let's just say I make a story here, this is a story for this initiative. When I click enter here, and I don't assign it, right? So let me push it in. Let me push in my changes. Watch a little paint dry. Man, you guys all dropped off that Kroger conversation real quick. I thought that would have kept going. Okay. And I hit refresh. This number is going to automatically be bumped up to 7. Okay. So you can see here, this is the nice thing about this, right? This filter is very scalable because I didn't hand jam. It breaks my heart when I see people do this, right? It breaks my heart when I see people go issue. Oops. Come on, Jira, cooperate with me. When I see people do issue key in, and then they start calling out each issue key, right? So they'll be like MP-2, right? Comma, right? Like once you start doing that and you're like explicitly putting in each key for every descendant, like it's game over, because the moment you start adding more work, it's going to break on you, right? So using the filter that we did, we're able to add children and descendants infinitely, right? As many as you want. And then these dashboards are going to dynamically update themselves with that information as they're coming in. Now, that's one of the filters that I like. Again, I don't have a whole lot of nice things to say about filters. So in the chat, if you guys all find, let me know in the chat if there's a gadget that you like that isn't issue statistics, or the second one that I like to do is just 2-dimensional filter. Other than those two, I think all the other ones just suck. Atlassian has to do a better job here. But again, we'll do the same thing here. We have Harry Potter by the dozen. Nice. I think Alistair just like took a break and just said, you know what, let's go check out the stores here. Let's go see. So we can do assignee by status or something, right? And so this right here is a 2-dimensional one. Again, you're using the same data, but now we can see it in a couple of different ways. And we can show again this information in a 2-dimensional way. Now, if you have JSM, if you happen to have Jira Service Management, you're going to have this filter counts. Now, this is my absolute favorite gadget from Atlassian, but it breaks my heart that it's only available if you have JSM. Like this should be, Atlassian, if you're watching, this should be a gadget that is available in Jira. But this gadget, I love it because you're going to bring in the subset of your data, right? You're going to bring in that operationals filter here. Here we go. But now you can build your own filter counts, right? So now you have a little bit of creativity here. Like you can just show a number of like how many are assigned to me. You can show priority critical. You can show in a specific status, right? So there's a couple of things that are out of the box that you can just pick. But the most important reason why I love this one is this build custom count. And I can do like I can do like due next week, right? And then here in my JQL, I can do due I can do end of week. And when I hit save, right, this is going to be due. Okay. Don't mind my bad JQLing. Uh-oh. Click the edit button. What are you talking about? I did edit you. Did I not save it? Oh, it helps if you save it, folks. It always hit save on these. So let's do this again. So this is what's cool. So you can do build custom count, like do this week, right? And then you can do your field do, and then left in end of week, save that, save this. And see, now we have 4 items that are due this week, but you can build these custom things that are like blocked, right? You can build mini JQLs against that big filter, right? So if we're looking at our seven items, we can build custom ones, or you can use like the assigned to me, the total, right? You can have, I think, up to like 10 items on here before Jira starts complaining to you. So I love this. This is like one of my favorite ones though, right? Because it looks like you just have these numbers, and so you can put like new bugs that were figured out and things like that. Any tricks and plans to use data from another Jira instance or work items? From a different instance, you need to pull that data in. So you can use a plugin like Get Integration or Elements, or even Exalate, even though I'm not very happy with Exalate right now. But you can use any of these plugins. You ultimately have to bring the data has to exist in your single instance here. So there's nothing that's going to let you cross different things. I've never tried an application tunnel or an application link. You can try an application link and see if that does it for you. But my experience has always been it's just within that instance. But you can and do have the ability to use some of these integration tools that are available out there to bring your data into a single location. That way you have it all in one place. All right, folks. Let me know in the chat. Has anybody ever used filter counts? This is by far my favorite. This is my absolute favorite gadget in the world of Atlassian. So raise your hand. How many of you have used this filter counts or knew that you can do these sub micro queries? My recommendation too, by the way, is if you want to have a truly game-changing dashboard, you're going to want to check out either. I'm not sponsored by these two folks, so I hate that I'm promoting them, especially because I hate what Tempo has done to custom charts for Jira. But custom charts for Jira is going to give you a lot of this, but infinitely better. I grew up with Chris Cook, former CEO of Custom Charts for Jira. Absolutely loved that. Was my favorite plugin in the Atlassian ecosystem. Then it sold to Tempo, and Tempo destroyed it. So hopefully none of you work for Tempo, and hopefully I'm not offending any of you. But yeah, Custom Charts for Jira was one of my favorite ones. I used it to help show counts for each working team before we use teams in Jira. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I love this filter counts one. And then custom charts for Jira if you want to build good ones, or one of the new ones that I've been using. I'm not a big fan, but one of the guys that I work with, he likes this one. But Rich Filters, I think it's what it's called, by AppFire. This is another one that I would highly recommend. It's very similar to custom charts for Jira, but check your pricing, right? But custom charts for Jira, and not sponsored, they have 9,000, so it's very close in the number of installs. But you're gonna want to, if you get frustrated with what you can report on, custom charts for Jira and or Rich Filters is definitely going to give you a lot more flexibility. Again, not sponsored, so I wouldn't say one way or another. Anyways, folks, that we are at the end, and I just wanted to flash a couple of things here on the screen here. We are towards the tail end, right? We only have 4 more classes left. We're going to be working with scenarios next. Then we have Jira Product Discovery and JARs working together. So if you're using JPD, I'm going to show you what's possible there. Frustration, spoilers. Managing intake with Jira Service Management. So we'll look at that, and then reporting and Confluence. So we'll look at a couple more things we have left for the rest of the year. So if you haven't signed up and you want to sign up for those classes, definitely go and check this link out and sign up for the rest of my classes, sign up for Rob's classes and whatnot. And then I'm going to leave you with, again, we are aggressively and almost desperately trying to fill this stuff up, and we only have 150 seats total. We are currently sitting at, drum roll, 100 and almost 120. Yeah, so yeah, there we go. We have 30 seats left officially. So once these seats go, they're gone, and we are capped, because the more people we add to the event, the more expensive it gets. So we are putting a hard cap on the event. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence on it, and you're just curious about it, sign up, reach out to me. And if you can't sign up and you want to be a pal, if you want to help me out, Please repost if you can be so kind and just repost it to your network. Just share the link. Tell them, hey, this event's happening. Share it to your network. Help me raise awareness. We're trying again to get those last 30 people on here. And so please, please, please do help me out and share the link with people so that we can get those last 30 reservations. It'll help me sleep better at night. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be very hands-on. So basically, we're taking these courses that we teach online and they're in person. We have Robert who's going to be present. So any of Robert Heen fans, he's going to be doing a talk. So you can bet it's going to be basically just like this stuff, but in person. We have legends like Matt Dorr. We have a couple of Atlassians presenting, but not the salespeople Atlassian, but like the engineers Atlassians that are like in this every day. And so we have a couple of Atlassians. It is going to be completely free. Whoops. So it's completely free, but it's in person, folks. We committed to getting a bunch of hotel rooms, and we committed to making this the best in-person experience you could potentially have. So you have 2 months to go convince your bosses, get those travel schedules, budgets, and everything for traveling. We do have a discount code for the hotel, so we'll help you out with that part. But yeah, sign up and we'll be communicating. But yeah, 30 spots left, folks. So do not sleep on this. And I want to remind you that every attendee is going to get a physical copy of the Big Book of Atlassian. So make sure you are attending to pick up your free book. It's going to be full with cheat sheets and guides and run books and playbooks and pretty much everything that I known and used for the last 8 years in the Atlassian ecosystem. It's all going in there to help you be the best version of a Jira admin or a Jira user that you can possibly be. So share the information, at least if you can't make it. I understand some people, you might not have a job or anything like that. So just I would super appreciate it from the bottom of my heart if you can at least share it with your network on LinkedIn and just let people know about it so we can get those last 30 RSVPs. So with that said, folks, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all being here. Sign up for the other events. Sign up for this one if you can, and we'll see you next month. Bye.